Hello and welcome to New Central Television. I am Likon Obanjo. Here are some stories making rounds beyond the continent. We begin the news in US where German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has urged increased pressure on Russia amid Ukraine war. Merz was speaking at the White House during his first official visit to Washington since taking office last month. While Merz reaffirmed Germany's support for Ukraine, President Donald Trump likened the war between Russia and Kiev to two children fighting in a park and downplaying its global implications. The US president also defended his new travel ban, saying it couldn't come soon enough, and called on lawmakers to pass his big, beautiful spending bill. Analyst
Vertrauen brauchen wir aber auch im transatlantischen Verhältnis. Ob wir das nun wollen oder nicht, wir werden auf längere Zeit noch abhängig bleiben von den Vereinigten Staaten von Amerika. Ich habe Donald Trump allerdings gestern Abend gesagt, ihr braucht auch Partner in der Welt. Und die Europäer sind wie kein zweiter und die Deutschen ganz besonders die am besten geeigneten Partner in der Welt, wenn es darum geht, die gemeinsamen Herausforderungen jetzt zu bestehen. Und das ist der Unterschied zwischen autoritären Systemen und Demokratien. Autoritäre Systeme haben Untergebene, Demokratien haben Partner. Und diese Partner wollen wir sein in Europa. Ich komme in dem Zusammenhang nochmal auf die USA zurück. Man kann die Politik dort heftigst kritisieren. Ich werde mich daran nicht beteiligen. Aber die Ergebnisse dieser Politik sind, dass jetzt sehr viele Unternehmen die Frage stellen, ob nicht vielleicht doch Europa und ob nicht in Europa vielleicht doch Deutschland ein guter Investitionsstandort sein könnte. Wir sehen, dass Wissenschaftler aus den USA angesichts der Stimmung an den Universitäten die Frage stellen, ob nicht vielleicht doch Europa und innerhalb Europas nicht vielleicht doch die Bundesrepublik Deutschland ein interessanter Wissenschafts- und Forschungsstandort sein können. Für alle diejenigen, die jetzt zu uns kommen wollen, für alle diejenigen, die da sind und investieren wollen, wollen wir hier ein anderes Klima schaffen in diesem Land. Diese amerikanische Regierung ist offen für Diskussionen, hört zu, ist bereit, auch andere Meinungen zu akzeptieren. Ich habe ja gestern in der Runde da im Oval Office, was das Thema Ukraine betrifft, eine dezidiert andere Position vertreten als Trump.
Well, to discuss this, we're joined by a public affairs analyst, Ejike Opa. Ejike, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, can you hear me? Thank you for having me.
Yes, we can hear you. So, what does German Chancellor Friedrich Merz's call for increased pressure on the Kremlin signal about the future of Europe's unified stance on Russia?
It's an interesting question, and this is not a new call for the European nations to step up and defend their own continent and their own neighbors. So, but it is reassuring that Germany, which under Angela Merkel, the last time was more like leaning towards Russia. If the new chancellor is now saying, hey, we have to stand up to Russia, we have to craft a relationship, that gives us, the platform to assert our own influence in order to see some stability in the region. I mean, that's a welcome development. But you got to recognize, these things are efforts. So, we are all looking for the outcome, and hopefully the outcome is going to commensurate with the effort. So far, Putin has been able to stand up to the rest of the world and done what he's done. And I've always held this belief that European crisis should not be war or world crisis. But obviously, they have the attention, they have the leverage. World War was European crisis, and World War II was European crisis. So, I mean, there are several continents in the world. Why is it that this one particular continent is the one when they do things, when their nuisance is espoused on the world, everybody's is grabbed. And I think other countries that are not part of the European Union start to say, hey, we're not going to be part of your child's fights, like Trump said, fighting in the playground, and everybody else is paying attention. So that's my position. But I'm hoping that what he's saying is going to lead to Russia and Ukraine coming to terms about being neighbors and finding ways to live happily ever after.
And now we're seeing a German chancellor that's trying to align with Washington. But then, what impact would that have on Germany's leadership role within the EU when we talk about security and foreign policy?
Well, I mean, the U.S. happens to have the biggest, resources of every country. Even though there are sentiments, to say to the other, to say differently or to the contrary. But Germany is the most powerful, successful country in Europe. So they too are now beginning to either wake up or realize their own potential and they want to flex it. So if that's going to lead to other countries, to now seek alliance, with Germany in order to have things done. You know, let it be. Regional powers is what gives somebody the leverage to now seek for global power. And I think the Europeans, apart from having been majority of the colonizing force in the world, have realizing now that America has stolen their thunder, and now they are waking up to say, hey, we used to be here, we want to be here now, and let's see whether they can catch up.
All right, so I'd like to find out, what do you think the thoughts of President Donald Trump is as regards the Russia-Ukraine war? Some people have said that is dismissive, others have said that is not that persuasive, and some other people will say, oh, he has not been so assertive on trying to end the crisis. How do you see stance?
All of those things, are plausible explanations and conclusion by those who want to see it the way they say it. But they have to recognize Trump has just been in the second missionary journey for 4 months. He has domestic issues he has to deal with, and then he has, the world is calling on his attention to do something. He's an individual. He only has 24 hours in a day. No presidents get extra time. So what has to, and you have to prioritize your attention. He cannot devote his time to solve problem of European nations or some other rogue and nuisance nations. When here at home, we're looking for him to be in charge and do the things that the Americans that voted for him in November want to do. So that's what it is. I think there was a recent statement that said, hey, we need to pull back from all this world attention, because sometimes that's what is enabling these people to do. We were in Afghanistan. You see how disastrous that was. We were in Iraq. I mean, we didn't have a conclusive win over there. Then we did something in Libya. You have to now, they said, hindsight is a better teacher. You have to look at these things and say that Americans have, spent their lives, spent their resources, and then what do we get at the end? Some few people in those countries got rich out of it because they like the dollar, but obviously they didn't do anything. To make sure that their own country, stands on its feet. Instead, it has they cause crisis, and they call America and America out of concern for to protect the life of other people, step in and spend dollars. It's all about the money. It has nothing to do with getting things done right. So Trump is saying, hey, we won't have to pull back. Russia and Ukraine, nobody has a magic wand what's going to be the solution that will enable both parties to be happy. So, you look at it, and you say, what, you guys are two adults that are behaving delinquently. I got to get out of it. If you really are serious about what you want to do for your own country, then we can talk. If not, go ahead, like we say in America, knock yourselves out.
Mm. Thank you so much, Ejike Opa, for sharing your thoughts with us on the news.
Thank you. I don't have a magic wand. I just have views.
And you too. Thank you. Let's now tell you that a U.S. federal court has temporarily blocked President Donald Trump's latest attempt to bar most new international students from enrolling at Harvard University. The White House proclamation issued late on Wednesday also threatened the visas of current foreign students, citing Harvard as an unsuitable destination for international scholars. Harvard responded by updating an existing legal complaint, accusing the government of retaliating against the university for exercising its First Amendment rights and resisting political interference in its governance and curriculum. U.S. District Judge Allison Burroughs issued a temporary restraining order on Thursday, stating that Harvard faced immediate and irreparable harm without intervention. The ruling marks the latest clash between Trump and the prestigious institution. In North America, Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel and Vatican Secretary for Relations with State Archbishop Paul Richard Gallagher have marked the 90th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Cuba and the Vatican. The event, which was held at the Revolution Palace in Havana, underscored the enduring partnership between the two nations, highlighting mutual respect and ethical diplomacy. The Palace of the Revolution served as the seat of the Cuban government, hosted the gathering, reflecting the significance of the occasion.
Saludo del Papa León XIV, quien me ha pedido que les traiga hasta aquí, desde lo más profundo de su corazón, una palabra de aprecio y esperanza que manifiesta su cercanía y estima por todos los hijos y hijas del amado pueblo cubano.
Renovamos nuestra voluntad de fortalecer el diálogo respetuoso, ético y constructivo que caracteriza la relación entre la Santa Sede y la República de Cuba. Muchas gracias.
We now head to South America, where we tell you that the Venezuelan mother, Mercedes Amati, has seen her family torn apart by the U.S. immigration policies under President Donald Trump. Her three sons, who fled Venezuela seeking a better life, have faced severe consequences, while one was deported and held without communication in a Salvadoran mega jail, accused alongside 251 others of gang ties. Another has self-deported to Mexico, while the third remains in hiding in the U.S. fearing arrest. Speaking from her modest home in Maracaibo, Yamati expressed heartbreak over their separation, while wishing the nightmare was away.
No hay palabras como explicárselo porque es un dolor que es difícil. No es fácil, de verdad no es fácil pasar por esta situación, ningún familiar, ninguno. Nosotros no se lo deseamos a nadie. Tener un familiar querido en una mega cárcel siendo inocente. Claro, no es él solo, son muchos que son inocentes y están allá. Pasamos por una situación demasiado difícil, mi mamá destrozada, tiene días sin poder dormir, todas las mañanas me llama, me dice, hijo, ¿cómo estás? ¿Qué haces? ¿Cómo te portas? ¿Qué han dicho allá? ¿Qué han dicho aquí? Si lo van a liberar, si no lo van a liberar. Eso es una angustia que ella tiene todos los días.
Let's now jet to Europe, where European Council Chief Antonio Costa has defended the International Criminal Court following U.S.'s sanctions on 4 of its judges. Speaking on Friday, Costa declared that the European Union strongly supports the ICC, emphasizing its role in upholding justice worldwide. Costa reaffirmed the European Union's commitment to the ICC, highlighting its role in ensuring accountability for war crimes and crimes against humanity. He urged the international community to safeguard the court's independence, warning that the rule of law must triumph over the rule of power. However, while the sanctions have drawn sharp criticisms, EU leaders appear united in defending the ICC's integrity and the broader principle of justice without borders. Russian forces launched a large-scale overnight assault on Ukraine, targeting Kiev with drones and missiles. Mayor Vitaly Klitschko confirmed 4 fatalities, while President Volodymyr Zelensky reported 3 rescue workers among the dead. Explosions and fires erupted across multiple districts, including Solomiansky and Donetsky, as air defenses scrambled to intercept the attacks. In Lusk, 15 drones and 6 missiles struck, injuring 5. Though the air raid alert in Kiev was lifted, warnings remain active elsewhere. This strike follows Ukraine's recent bold drone attacks on Russian air bases, prompting Russian President Vladimir Putin to vow retaliation, during a call with U.S. President Donald Trump. Rescue operations continue amid calls for international response to the escalating conflict. We apologize for the loss in audio on that report, but then we go on a short break, and when we return, veterans mark 81 years since D-Day in Normandy. We'll tell you more in a bit. Do stay with us. The news continues in Europe, where veterans and world leaders gathered in Normandy on Friday to mark the 81st anniversary of the D-Day landings, one of the most pivotal moments of World War II. Commemorations stretched along the French coastline, where tens of thousands watched parachute jumps, military flyovers, and emotional remembrance ceremonies. The events honored the bravery of Allied forces and the lives lost during the historic invasion. Among the attendees was 101-year-old U.S. veteran Harold Terrence, who once again stood on the shores where he helped maintain aircraft on D-Day.
Au nom du président de la République, nous vous remettons les...
Pope Leo XIV on Friday hosted the President of the Italian Republic, Sergio Mattarella, in the Vatican City. The two leaders met for roughly an hour inside the Apostolic Palace, where they held a private discussion in the Papal Library. Following their meeting, President Mattarella also spoke with Cardinal Pietro Parolin, the Vatican Secretary of State, with both sides expressing satisfaction over the strong diplomatic ties between Italy and the Holy See. The discussions, which covered a range of pressing international issues such as the conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East, highlight the continued collaboration between the Vatican and Italy in addressing both global crises and domestic challenges. In the meantime, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has welcomed European Council President Antonio Costa to Rome, where both leaders held talks at Palazzo Chigi on Friday afternoon. Costa, who has taken office as Council President, also visited the Vatican earlier in the day, where he met with Pope Leo XIV. He described their conversation as very inspiring, noting that they have discussed ongoing global conflicts and explored pathways to peace, particularly in Ukraine and Gaza. The visit marked Costa's diplomatic engagement with key European and religious leaders amid rising tensions across multiple regions. And now in Asia, Palestinians braved all odds on Friday to observe Eid al-Adha prayers, gathering in open spaces and makeshift shelters to perform their prayer. This is amidst the rubble of Al-Bani Mosque destroyed in Israeli airstrikes, which reflects the resilience of Gazans amid ongoing conflict and devastation. However, in Gaza, the prolonged conflict has led to the destruction of numerous mosques and a severe shortage of livestock, making the traditions of the festival challenging to uphold.
كنا في القصف شغال وفي الأعراء والمساجد مكسرة ولا ميكروفون نسمع فيه ايش بقول الشيخ ولا سامعين خطبة ولا سامعين حاجة تكون. والقصف شغال أقول لك من الليل كله لحتى تو الصلاة كمان بزود يزايد عن كل يوم القصف شغال علينا.
نحن في أسوأ أحوالنا، لا نقول نحن بخير، والله ما نحن بخير، والله وضعنا من أسوأ ما يكون. بعد 100 سنة من العذاب والقهر والظلم والتهشريد والنزوح بدهم ياخذوا كمان غزة منا ويصدروها منا. ايه شركة هي ولا هي أرض أبوهم؟ هذا عالم ظالم، هذا المفترض.
Let's also tell you that 4 people have been detained following a stampede that occurred on the 4th of June at the Bengaluru Stadium, killing 11 people and injuring 47 others. Those arrested include RCB's head of marketing, Nikhil Sosali, and 3 executives from event management firm DNA Entertainment, and remanded to 14-day judicial custody. 2 senior police officers have also been suspended for failing to ensure adequate crowd control and security arrangements. Meanwhile, the Karnataka state government has announced a compensation for deceased families, pledging to cover medical expenses for the injured. Bangladesh's interim leader, Mohammad Yunus, says the country will hold national elections in April 2026, noting that the Election Commission would roll out a detailed roadmap for the exercise in due course. Yunus took over 3 days after former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was ousted in a student-led mass uprising in August 2024, ending her 15-year rule, and has been in exile in India since then. While the interim government has banned Hasina's Awami League Party, which is one of the country's 2 largest political parties, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, BNP as it's called, headed by former Prime Minister Khaleda Zia, is demanding the elections to be held in December.
আমি আজ দেশবাসীর কাছে ঘোষণা করছি যে আগামী জাতীয় নির্বাচন 2026 সালের এপ্রিলের প্রথমার্ধের যে কোনো একটি দিনে এই ঘোষণার ভিত্তিতে নির্বাচন কমিশন উপযুক্ত সময়ে আপনাদের কাছে নির্বাচনের বিস্তারিত রোডম্যাপ প্রদান করবে।
And that's all on Beyond the Continent. Don't forget, you can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Follow us on social media too. We are at News Central TV. Watch us live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times, channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Likon Onobanjo.